Let me say something that might feel uncomfortably familiar. Just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're building anything. Some of the most responsible, hardworking men I know, they're exhausted, but their life hasn't actually changed in years. They're moving, but they're not progressing. And if that's you, this isn't criticism. It's something that we need to understand though. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying this from the outside. I'm saying this as someone who's actually lived in it. Now, if you don't catch this, you don't just lose time. You lose momentum. Years pass, energy drains, and one day you're gonna look up and you're gonna wonder why all that effort, why it never seemed to change anything. But once you see the distinction most men miss, everything starts to move. So make sure you stick around. Before we go any further, I want to be clear about something. If you've been working hard and you still feel stuck, this isn't because you don't care. It's because you've been carrying responsibility without clear direction. Now, that's not a character flaw. That's what I like to call an unsupported system. All right, here's some truth for you. What's happening, it isn't a work ethic problem. It's a direction problem. All right, effort without clarity doesn't create progress. It actually creates burnout. All right, and burnout, it quietly convinces men that the answer is always more force. Now, if that line right there hits you, you're not alone. All right, so in this video, we're not going to stack pressure on you, just like I said in the last one, but we're going to slow it down. And we're going to go over one issue at a time, and then we're going to call out what the fix is. This way, you can actually stay grounded. You can see yourself clearly, and you can actually move forward instead of staying busy. So let's start with the first place that this quietly shows up for most men. All right. Core issue number one is motion. It feels like progress. All right. Motion, it feels productive sometimes. As long as you're doing something, your nervous system, it actually relaxes. You actually feel useful. You feel responsible. And you actually feel like you're in control. But motion doesn't ask where you're going. It only asks that you keep moving. So men, they stay busy and they avoid harder questions like, is this actually changing my life? If you felt that question land in your chest, I want you to stay with me because this hit me personally as well. I can tell you, there was this time when I thought I was finally progressing because I was doing all the right things. I thought I had progress. I thought I was making motion. I thought I was moving forward. I started an LLC. I started creating content. I was working on my health and I started paying attention to my money. From the outside, it looked like growth. It looked like everything was moving forward. But internally, I hadn't changed my habits, my behaviors, or my balance. I was building on a shaky foundation. And eventually, that always shows. That's when I learned the difference between motion and progress. Now, here's the stabilizing truth or the fix. Motion, it spends energy. Progress compounds it. Being busy doesn't mean that you're effective. And realizing that doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you're waking up. And this is actually where leadership starts. And once you see that, the next layer, it becomes impossible to ignore because the next layer or core issue two is busy as emotional avoidance. For most men and many men, busyness becomes emotional avoidance because slowing down, it actually would mean admitting. And what are you going to be admitting? I don't actually know what the next right move is. So instead of choosing direction, they choose activity. Not because they don't care though, but because activity, it feels safer than uncertainty. Now, let me ask you something. Did you notice your body, a shift in it? Did you notice what it just did? If it did, that's good. That tightening, that pattern, that's a pattern. And if you've been tired for a long time, this might be why. So here's the relief or the fix. It's okay to pause. It's okay to think. It's okay to create space. Progress requires margin, not to escape responsibility, but to aim it. Margin isn't laziness. Margin, it's leadership. And honestly, this is where most men finally realize they've never actually been taught or they were never raised how to slow down safely. So if this right here, if all of this information is hitting home for you, and if you're realizing you've been moving nonstop without clear direction, that awareness right now that you're feeling, that you're thinking, that you're going through, that alone is progress. And for some men, having support while they slow this down, it makes the difference. That's what my one-on-one clarity calls are for. It's not motivation. It's not pressure. It's just space. It's structure. And it's clear on the next steps. Now, whether you book it with me or not, doesn't matter for me. But I want you to, not because I want you to book it, but because I want to help you. But I want you to stay with me in this video because this next information, it matters even more. Not because it's heavy or because it's deep, but because it's where most capable men, they quietly stall. This is why hardworking men get stuck. Core issue 3. Hardworking men don't get stuck because they lack discipline. They get stuck because they carry too much. They say yes by default. They measure value by exhaustion. I learned this lesson in my health before I fully understood it in my life. I remember there was a time I was going to the gym 6 days a week. I was disciplined, I was consistent, I was doing the work, but I never fixed my diet, so my body stayed the same. I kept thinking that the answer was more workouts, and it wasn't. I had to actually face the truth. That truth was, you can't outwork a bad diet. And in life, you can't outwork unaddressed habits, behaviors, and an imbalance either. If you're nodding right now, that's enough for me. Because you don't need to carry the whole list. They accumulate, but they never eliminate. And over time, their life, it fills up without moving forward. So here's the shift that stabilizes everything. You got to stop asking, what do I need to do today? And I would start asking, what is the one thing that actually moves my life forward? Progress, it begins with subtraction. Less noise, clearer aim. Now, step back with me for a moment, because if you're still with me, you notice that this pattern, these thoughts, these emotions, it becomes clear. Motion, it keeps you occupied. Progress changes direction. Motion exhausts. Progress energizes. And the difference isn't effort, it's clarity. And this is the moment that most men rush past. This is where your life keeps looping and you don't pause. A grounded man doesn't prove his worth through exhaustion. He directs his energy with intention. If you've noticed, or if you know, a leader isn't the busiest person in the room. They're never the busiest person in the room. They're typically the clearest. And learning this, it doesn't mean that you're behind. It means that you're developing this skill. And most men, we were never taught this. We weren't raised up on this. We weren't even showed this. Some of us were able to have this shift on our own. And some men, honestly, they realize they don't want to keep trying this on their own. I couldn't do it on my own, I'll be honest. That's what mentors and coaches are for. So if you want support slowing this down and installing clarity into your life, that option exists. There should be a link below. It's there when you're ready. Not as pressure, but as support. One last thing. Nothing here requires you to rush. You were not designed to live in constant motion. You were actually designed to lead. Leadership, it starts with clarity. So I need you to stop confusing movement with growth. Progress, it doesn't require more force. It requires a decision. And that decision is available right now. Later today, you're gonna feel this pull to stay busy. Another task, another message, another thing to handle. And when that moment comes, I want you to remember this feeling right here. This is what progress feels like before it shows up. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next video. Later.